Okay, so thank you everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I know you are joining from different time zones. Thanks for joining today's session, despite of having this time constraints. So before jumping to the main discussion, I will share the session outline very briefly. Today, we will be sharing two approaches. First, we will start with the discussion. Our discussion will be two-parted. First segment, I will be sharing. My name is Momita. I'm working in Helvetas in Climate Change and Sustainable Development Program. And the second part will be sharing by my colleague, Manjur. So in between these two discussions, we will have 2 rounds of breakout rooms. And after the breakout room discussion, we will come in the plenary and hope to be shared the key discussion from one person from each group, and more details will be shared by another colleague, Imon, about the breakout room when the breakout room discussion will be take place. And the session will be closed by an open discussion where you can share your reflection, question, or any comments. So this is more of the outline. So let me start today's discussion. Welcome again. The first part, the project management unit, I will be sharing. Actually, before this true approach, before going to the the gist of this approach, I will be sharing why this two approach will now floated in this discussion and why we need this platform to be discussed more. So first, as many of us know, that Helvetas is always committed to create a just world where everyone will live in dignity and by ensuring all rights and social equity. Having said that, in climate change arena, Helvetas has been working for last 2 decades in Bangladesh, and we are trying to build not only the support, but build the communities, the climate vulnerable communities resilience, so can they have the access to risk-informed decisions and climate finance. And with continuation with this thought, in 2021, Helvetas published this position paper on climate justice, where we unpack our analytical frame on 3 dimensions: social, political, and financial. And also in 2021, we endorsed the locally led adaptation. You know, there's 8 principles of locally led adaptation. The first one is devolving the decision making to its lowest appropriate level. So all these vision, mission documents are in place, but well, if we are in documented, in articulation is all okay, all this vision and mission, and bearing in mind in this notion, we are working in climate adaptation front and loss and damage front. And in these two arena, we try to stand out all these vision and approaches, and we articulated our program approaches keeping this mind. Like if I mention 2 or 3 approaches of our program, the first one is most affected, most participated, brave accountability, and all these 3 parts, like program approaches, climate adaptation intervention, and loss and damage, we try to see this through this climate justice lens. But the point is why we floated this discussion, like project management unit is very common to all. Why we, floated this common term in this forum. We all have this project management unit in our program, in our project. We try to look back ourselves that if these documents, this notion are in place, what we are doing on the ground, why we need to restructure or reshuffle this unit, or what triggered us. When we try to look back on the ground, we found that we are not completely standing out what we believe in. So we thought we should extend our table. We should create a space for the community that we are saying that most affected should have the most participation. We try to turning around our table and extend the space for them. And we challenged ourselves by initiating one first workshop to launch our loss and damage intervention. So in July 2022, we first invited our community members, 3 community members we invited in our loss and damage planning workshop. Why? Because loss and damage, the concept of loss and damage is not still defined by this UNFCCC or global climate leaders. The concept is still hazy, but the loss and damage experiences has been faced by our Bangladeshi community since 1970s or before that. So we thought they could, enrich us. They could feed us with this experience. So in this workshop, we could hear the diverse voices by ensuring the equal participation. And honestly, the workshop went successfully. We have realized that if we can ensure a right space, we can have the effective participation. But what next after this workshop? It's done, or it's just a contribution or the participation of the community? No, it was not. We tried to really mean what participation actually mean. And participation, we meant participation by decision making. So, and what could else the effective space other than a project management unit? So we included the 3 community members in our project management unit. We tried to create a space for them by challenging ourselves. If we say brave accountability, we should challenge ourselves, start with ourselves. So in first round of meeting, first 6 months, we included 3 community members as we working in different geographical location. So we tried to cover as much as possible. And of course, considering our program component, like we work in water, food, migration and livelihood, try to cover as much as possible the components and to ensure a diverse voice from different community, age, ethnicity. So how we end up inclusion and comprehensive project management unit? Let me unpack the whole process. As I said that in first 2 slides, we look back, we revisit ourselves by walk through our principal mission and vision. Then we had several rounds of discussion with our partners, implementing partners, as we tried not to impose something on them. We tried to bring everyone on the same ground. So we had several rounds of discussion with our partners. And then we started with revising our TOR, the terms of reference of our project management unit, the base document. And then finally, we outline the implementation process of including this community. So in this segment, the planning phase, we try to include and engage as much as possible our implementing partners so that this approach can be sustainable and ownership can be created from both ends, so that it cannot be, stick to only the project. It can be sustainable for long term and it can be owned as an approach. After that, we went for advertisement. We developed a 2-pager where we depicted our program, our theme, our objective, our criteria, and we try to advertise ourselves, like, please join us, to feed us, to enrich us. And then we had a discussion with CSO and CBO's platform, and this discussion is facilitated by our implementing partners in virtually, physically, to motivate them that why you, how it can be effective for you, both way, capacity building, and of course you can contribute the intervention that is meant for you. After that, the application interested CSO members applied to their focal. To their focal means their president, secretary of these platforms. And then the focal person proposed the members to us. And this part, we try to engage the CSO platform as much as possible, because the members are working with them. So they know much better than us who can be best suited for this unit. So in this 4th segment, we try to include the CBOs and CSOs as much as possible, engage them, empower them in a participatory approach. And then Helvetas and the partners stepped in application screening and final selection. And luckily, we got lots of application that was beyond our expectation. So in that step, we had to step in, because as I said that we chose them for 6 months and 6 consecutive meeting, and after that we are thinking that changing the members again. So in this segment, we selected 3% and we declared formally. We tried to ensure our downward accountability to our partners and of course the community. And as I'm saying that this process is fully participatory and both way transparent communication we try to maintain. So we asked these 3 selected members a consent letter, so that as we are committed to them, they should be committed for us for 6 months, that they will contribute with their quality time and effective contribution. After that, we formally initiated an invitation letter. But in the whole process, in this final selection and the application screening, us, Helvetas, and implementing partners actually exercises power to actually sort out the application. And we could not exclude ourselves for this power exercise, but the whole process, our goal was to share an equal space and the inclusion and comprehensive unit. And we learned jointly for the whole process, our community, from the community to us. And we try to be, it's a long-term flexible collaboration to our partner. Helvetas believes in partnership, not only the project, but also the organizational level. So we took more time than we actually expected to formalize it, to make it long-term and sustainable issue. But after having this full process completed, we also have some learning and lesson learned and error that I want to share, that the whole process was a learning one. Because I shared a sharp cut steps, but we had to gone through this back and forth error, like we had to change our criteria, the way of advertisement, and of course the members, who should we select, who will be the most appropriate one. We had to gone through the many processes. And as I said, our readiness of our partner, like Helvetas and our 2 implementing partners, Dorp and Sushilan, we all actually initially were not in the same place. Our team members, everyone have their own, some opinions. So we try to, be on the same ground so that we can float this approach. And of course, in the first round of discussion, meetings that we started in January, we had some discussion that something is confidential, something was not. So we are shaky which kind of discussion should we open up or not. So this was some, as this is a pilot one, we had to hold ourselves sometimes, back, we are shaky. So it's a learning, I think. It's a learning, maybe the first 6 round, we have these 3 members, and luckily we started in January. You can see the 3 pictures of 3 women and 1 man actually joined our first meeting in January. And after that, 5 consecutive meetings we have conducted. It's very early to say how the process has gone, but I can ensure that the 5 meetings was very well. Their contribution is effective. We already adopted some of their contribution already in our project, in our modality, in implementation, intervention, everything. So so far so good. But I will stop here. I want to hear from you more from your reflection or any comments or our gap in the process. So now I would like to hand over Imon, my colleague, to start the breakout session. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Mohammed, for your nice presentation. So to let you know, everyone, that I am creating 2 breakout rooms for you. It will generate automatically for 10 minutes, and it will end automatically when the time ends. And already I am dropping a questions for you to discuss on the breakout rooms. And please note that please nominate a facilitator for your group, and from your group, the facilitator will discuss on the plenary session. So it will take 30 seconds to make the breakout room. Stay with me. So I think now Manjur bhai can start, right? Manjur bhai, then we'll back to the plenary after another breakout session for 10 minutes. Yeah, Manjur bhai can start.
Thank you, Munbhai. Am I audible to all? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So I'm going to share the presentation. So I would like to thank you, Movita, and for the facilitation for earlier. So in this segment, I would like to share our approach that we very recently implementing, that is joint monitoring program under the Climate Change and Sustainable Development Program. So before starting that, I will not jump into the background about our approach and project because most of the issues has been covered through the previous presentation. So what is actually we conducting under the joint monitoring program? Basically, we would like to monitoring our qualitative progress that we made through our intervention, and also communicating our challenges and sharing the next course of action with the intended stakeholder, including the community people. So I would like to share how we started the process. In the very early beginning, we initially discussed among the team within the Helvetas as well as with our management team regarding the implementing joint monitoring program. Later on, we moved into discussion with our partners. So we had a consultation that how can we initiate the joint monitoring program to track our quality progress within the project intervention. Then we developed a term of reference where we articulated how can we monitor the process and what actually we done through the joint monitoring program. And after that, we move into that mapping the intended participant, and I mean the MNCL and the partners who will be joining the process. And afterward that, we were initiated to finalizing our thought. When we finish our finalizing our thought, then we roll out our first joint monitoring program last year, which was initially was experimental. And after completing our first joint monitoring program, we realized that we need to revisit our thought because of there we faced some of sort of challenges. So we revised the thought, and earlier of this year, we had our second round of joint monitoring program. So in this process, we actually covered the 2 joint monitoring programs so far. So what actually worked behind this? Actually, we would like to promote a culture that we can share the joint or common ownership and the responsibility that ensure that program quality has been tracked properly and communicated properly. And besides this, we have some specific objectives. Firstly, we would like to ensure that in the monitoring process, we ensure the common ownership, including our partner and the community people. Secondly, we wanted to enhance the capacity of relevant stakeholder on the monitoring process, particularly designing the monitoring and implementing in the ground and how it will work. We wanted to capacitate our partners and the community people. And thirdly, we would like to ensure the accountability, which is downward accountability to our partner and the community people. And lastly, enhance the participation of most affected in the project management cycle. So it's earlier, Momita mentioned that one of the approach is our most affected and most participated. So we ensure that the mostly affected people are participating in our joint monitoring program so that they can share their experience as well. In terms of methodology, we actually open up this broadly because we thought that it might be very useful if we conduct through the participatory approach and inclusive process as we are inviting the partners as well as the community people from the community. So this is the initial thought. We come to our methodology, and we decided the joint meeting visit will be led by each of the partner on the rotation basis. For example, in the initial phase, Helvetas took the first lead to initiate the process. But in our second visit, it was led by our partner organization, Sushila. So in this way, we actually rotating ourselves so that each of the organizations can get the lead. So based on the methodology, we decided to selecting methods and tools for monitoring. But most of the cases, as we done two joint working program, we found that observation method is more useful when we travel to the field, and we done some short survey. But it can be changed based on the intervention we are going to observe in the field. So we make it little bit broader so we can choose any flexible tools or methods that we can adjust with our plan. Here I just want to make sure that what steps are we actually broader level following. Initially, we actually formed the team before the initial joint meeting program. So in that case, from the Helvetas, we prefer to go one person who is working the mill and another from the program. And similar way, we also took the partner staff who is, for example, project manager or maybe the mill mini person from their side. And from the community, we selected the person who actually connected to our intervention or directly benefited to our intervention. So in this way, we actually form our team. And second step, we actually identify this intervention we're going to monitor in the field, because lots of intervention we are doing in the field, and all of the intervention cannot be monitored in the one time. So we have to pick up based on our output or outcomes. And same thing happening in the step 3, because our project area is very vast, including several 14 unions. So in this regard, actually, we are selecting particular unions for the specific disease. So we have to pick up it randomly. And step 4, we actually selecting the method and tools which we are selecting for monitoring the intervention. And step 5, we actually visit the project sites and intervention for the monitoring. And next step, we actually prefer that people can report individually. So after individual report, one report should be sent to the lead organization, the specific time period. So people from the lead organization can compile all the report together, because there might be similar findings and similar information, so that cannot be collected, that can be collected effectively. So that way we are compile the report. And last step, we think about the sharing the findings with the intended stakeholder. So in this process, we actually talking about the duration and reporting and dissemination process. So we planning initially that our joint meeting program will held each quarter, specifically 4th week of the first month of a quarter, and report should be shared to respective project team and respective organization to take decision, and the discussion in the project management unit, so that the monitoring findings can be influenced the management, so they can take better decision to implement the project effectively on the ground. So in this process, as we mentioned earlier, that project management unit have community people, so they can also participate in the decision making process as well. Throughout the process, actually, we have some learning, because initially, as we initiated, we gone through different approach and process. So first thing we realized that sharing with the community, the key finding is bit challenging because our report preparing in the English and is fine for organization and partner organization to understand, but community people might have limited access to the language barriers. So we need to share this with their language. I mean, it can be Bangla or local language, so they can understand well what we actually monitor and what type of vision we have to. And second thing is to enhance the partner capacity in the monitoring process, because sometimes it has been observed that this kind of joint monitoring process leading by the donor or the funding organization. So we would like to that similar approach can be adopted by the partners. And team composition is the concern, because as we are three organizations collectively joining the joint monitoring program, when we see that our team becomes a bit larger, so it sometimes or many times we face that it's difficult to build up rapport with the committee people to extract the information from that. So we face this challenge, and we also considering the situation that how could we reduce the team size. So maybe in future we have to be restricted the joint meeting program team member numbers. And then we actually find out that leadership of INGO is a traditional mindset of that lead organization always do the things every time. But we would like to shifting this role and responsibility or accountability to our partner organization as well as the community people, so that they can take the lead and they can lead the joint meeting program as we can do similarly. And another thing is project driven engagement. It also sometimes hinders the process. So if you think about the holistic approach, it can be program approach. So it would be better understanding and better outcome to implement the joint moving program. So this is the all from my side. I would like to thank you all, and I would like to again call Mr. Hassan Imun for facilitate the breakout room session. Thank you.
Thank you, Manju bhai. So I am again creating the two breakout rooms for you. It will be the same group, and the instruction is same. So, but the time is 8 minutes, as we are running out of time so far because the plenary session is still left. So yeah, so I'm creating this group.
So the people are coming back. So I think as you were in one group, you can call other group to share their thoughts quickly and can go into a point. Same with Monjul, right? Yeah, right. Then actually we'll save time. We have last 10 minutes.
Yes, yes. That's why I'm thinking that should we go for the plenary or directly address the questions? Because we have only 10 minutes. Okay, okay.
You can call other group first, then responding the point.
Okay, so we will start our plenary session. I would like to call from room 1. Anyone, I think Shubhashish was selected for sharing the key discussion. So Shubhashish, can you please unmute yourself, or you have 2 minutes to share your key discussion. Then we'll go to the room 2. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Momitadi, for giving me the opportunity once again. We had a very good discussion, though it's a very, very less time, less than 10 minutes. But from the participants, what we heard that we appreciated from our room that due to the mixed learning, it's one, though it's a 1 year only. So if I compile all the part, though it's 1 year, so should we go further with the discussion? There's some questions like that. Should we wait to see how this approach working, or should we start implementing? And another important question was like, when we do this program management unit things, like before or after the program? And another thing, if I compile all the questions like that, what new contribution or what is the value addition have been made so far by the community participants? And as it is a joint effort, we are saying, can we make it a collective effort of the policy stakeholder with the same focus, because it's adding how it is adding the community's feedback, and also how it's ensuring the ownership and accountability within the community. So this is the summary of the questions and discussion from room 1. So thank you, Momita. Over to you.
Thank you. So I'd like to call room 2, who will be presenting. You have another 2 minutes. Room 2, I mean, I think Imon Bhai was there. So anyone take the lead? Okay, please.
And then Musrat can back me up a little bit. But in the first session, there was just a lot of agreement with the project management unit approach. There was a lot of appreciation for the idea of participatory approaches and approaches that are not top down. And that it's good to involve beneficiaries in activities so that they can take decisions and have new ideas and innovations coming up. And then in our second breakout group, we spent a little time on this question around, was there a baseline study done before the intervention and then a final evaluation by an external party? And one of the Helvetas colleagues said that there was a baseline study before the intervention, and that there is a plan to do an evaluation by a third party once the project wraps up. And then, unfortunately, I don't speak Bangla, but Amir was making some remarks in his language, and Musrat was about to translate and give us a little bit of what he was saying before the breakouts ended. So maybe I'll pass to Musrat to take us through some of the comments that came through in Bangla.
Imon Bhai, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think it's already covered up, but Khosroo mentioned some points like for the joint monitoring program, he told that it is a collaborative approach where the community CSO and the partner, the Helvetas, and all stakeholders come together and evaluate the program. And the main point is that we ideally evaluate the project after a completion of a year or a completion of a project. But in this process, we evaluate our activities and the interventions in a quarterly basis, so that we can divert our decisions if needed, and community and the PMO members also share their thoughts, experiences, and the voice of the community into this process. And this is the same as well for the PMO process as well, because the inclusion of the PMO in the project management unit, the community member in the PMO unit is also essential for this, because their valuable insights helped us to taking our decision in the right path so far. And in the last 5 months, we already took 3 to 5 decisions based on their experiences or their comments. So that's what Khosroo mentioned in his comments in Bangla so far. So this is the summary. Thank you, Momita. Over to you.
Thank you, Imon Bhai. We have 4 minutes left. Hilary, are you gonna give us any other additional minutes, or we have to close it by 8?
We'll have to close it just because of other commitments.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I have one question from Hither, so I would like to address that she asked any changes in discussion after PMU and what contribution have been made so far from the community. So the question is, yes, our discussion actually, as I shared in my presentation, that we were shaking, but actually when we conducted our first meeting, we haven't have any change our discussion, way of discussion. We discuss in a normal way, but the value addition they did, they actually, as you know, that we have some platforms like Health Village Group, like when we work in water components, this platform helped us to identify who is the most vulnerable, who needs the water support. And this community member in PMU actually helped us to change the modality that we have been implementing this for years. But they actually come up with this with the idea that this the Health Village Group modality, the selection of the vulnerable community is not enough, or is not serving the whole purpose. Do you want to see the goal? So now we are actually in the process to change our modality for the way this Health Village Group identifying the community, the family or household. So this is one of the value addition. Another one is that we are implementing the rebuilding the damaged structures. They actually working as a supervisory group. They actually monitoring the quality of this, the infrastructure construction and everything, and some of them actually involved in the process. So that's the value addition in after including them in the PMU. They have actually they perform from their accountability. That's this roads, this infrastructure is ours, so we have to take care of it. So other than the project management team, the project staff, they actually monitoring for us, for them actually. So this is the value addition. Another one is asked by Mokles Bhai. This is how can we do hands-on or the connected with the local government. So for information, our program has another platform. It's called Mother's Parliament. This concept was deployed by our partner development organization of the rural poor. They also work for the water components, and this mother parliaments is already in the process of negotiation with Union Parishad, with local government. So they and this space they created, don't want to say that for us, but they actually being capacitated by all this process, all these CBO meetings, discussion that the climate change program have been supported for. So this mother parliament actually serving this negotiation for themselves, not for us, but they actually working as the bridging unit. They successfully increased the WASH budget. They successfully incorporate the climate finance in latest fiscal year. I think maybe 2 or 3 consecutive years. So we are already in process that we create the bridge between the CBO and the local government. So after having all this in the place, we actually take the idea to include them in the project management unit. And another question I remember that, yes, we first designed our program, and in our design there was project management unit, but not any space for the community members. It's all composed of our project staff, management staff. So I think I answered. If any question for Manju Bhai. Manju Bhai, over to you
think there is a
answer anything.
Yeah, Mohammed, there is a question in the chat box from Constant.
Yes.
Congo, maybe you can address this.
Okay, what are the lessons learned from various self-assessment? Oh, from various self-assessment. It's for PMU or JMP? From I mean, Constant, can you please elaborate the question? I mean, it's not clear. What are the lessons learned from various self-assessments?
Or by this time, Manjul Bhai can come in.
Yes, please, Manju Bhai. Yes, Manju Bhai. Yes, please, Manju Bhai, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mita. Actually, there is a question about regarding the methodology. As I mentioned, that the methodology actually we keep it broader. What I presented here, just we experimented from our experience, and it's not rigid that we always follow same methodology for the joint monitoring program. And another thing is how many members we actually engage. Particularly, if I say from each organization, in average, we choose 2 people. So in 3 organizations, from 3 organizations, total number was 6. And from the committee, we tried to get at least 1 people. So in total number was around 7. So this was the question. And another thing was reflection about the language that we need to share with our community people, because English not always can be communicated with the participants. So we should thinking about that how can we communicate our findings. So we need to move forward with the local language or Bangla, I think. So this is what I got reflection from the group. Thank you.
Okay, Monjir Bhai, I think you have one more questions. If let me read it out. So if the joint evaluation process taken more time, how the impacts, positive or negative, Helvetas overall work? I mean, if you want to make any comments. And the last question was, what are the lessons learned from the evaluation? I think there was a question regarding the baseline. So I think the question is the continuation of that. So would you like to take this?
So, but we haven't yet to done any evaluation from the joint monitoring, joint evaluation perspective. So in future, we might be thinking about that. How can we conduct? And baseline was conducted for the project level, which is particularly not focused the program level. So we had a baseline before we initiate the intervention. And again, we cannot certain about the negative and positive impact as we are not initiated the evaluation yet. So we might be get response when we done it. Thank you.
Thank you, Monjir Bhai. I think we are running out of time. It's already over 8. So I think we almost cover all the questions visible. So we want to close this discussion. Thank you everyone for your contribution. And in such a short time, we actually enriched us in so many ways. So I wish we could have a more time for this breakout room discussion, and we can take all the questions, comments from you. So thank you everyone for joining in the evening, and hope you have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.